Hello again, welcome to European Autocraft Studios 944 Turbo project, which probably don't have to say that anymore. I think you kind of know what we're working on. But in the near future, I'll have to clarify that because there's going to be other projects. I keep saying that too, but a lot coming up. We're trying to get sorted out. But on another note, I'm not going to be able to show you pinion depth yet. We just can't swing the extra money we need to get the tools for this. But what I will do is we're going to put this back together the way it is I explained last week. We're going to get it together without replacing any parts. It still needs to be rebuilt, but this way at least we get to show you what we're doing here and how it all works. And we're going to put it back together. It'll go on a shelf for a little bit, and then when we do get the tools, I will dig this back out again, and we will do a pinion depth measurement and a turning torque measurement and a backlash measurement, just like we're supposed to do when we put a new ring and pinion in or replace bearings or things like that. So we will get back to that. For now, I'm going to just go through some of the wear items, what we found worn, what we're going to replace in the future. We'll see. It's unfortunate that the budget just isn't here now for this work, but we have other projects coming up, and could possibly be another 944 Turbo. It would be great. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a quick couple things that you're going through the service manual. It's kind of out of context here. Well, not out of context, but the pages aren't exactly right. First, they want you to assemble the sleeve and install it. And the second step, they want to show you how to put it together before you install it. So it's always good to read everything before you start the work. I think it's just a matter of convenience how they fit it on the page. But what they mean by 120 degrees, ouch. These things are the little spring clips that hold the little dogs in there. And these things, I showed you these before. I don't want to go over it again, but these little springs hold these in place. These are the little detents that snap back and forth, and it's like a little pin that pushes in. Only it's a rectangle. So the little spring clip locks into the top of these, and they just go around. Ouch! They do hurt when they hit you tip of the finger. Anyways, so they just go in and around, and you just drop it in place, just as graceful as that. So what they mean by 180 degree offset, they don't want you to put this part on the same piece on the other side. So these are 120 degrees off, just like three-phase electric, and we just stick this one over here and make sure they're all locked in like that. So we have one locked in this I don't even know what you call these things, detents, I guess. And then we have the other one over here. It could be here too, doesn't matter, 120 degrees off. So there you go. Now we also had mentioned that third gear is probably one of the hardest gears in the transmission. It takes a lot of abuse. It's just that high RPM, third gear is just the one you use a lot. So I want to show you the difference in wear between third and fourth. We already covered some of the other gears on the input shaft. I'm sorry, the pinion shaft. This is the input shaft. So I just want to show you, if you look at the teeth here on the sliding collar, they have a little bit more wear. And they look like they're just a little bit beat up. And this is fourth gear. This is what engages fourth gear. You'll see they're just a little bit sharper. So that's the difference between third and fourth. Third does take a little bit more abuse. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the hot plate. I'm hoping it will drop all the way on. I haven't had much luck with that, as you noticed before. And we'll try that. So now let's look at third gear, the gear itself. And here's the synchro ring. It doesn't look too bad on the outside. It's definitely taken some hits. Not real bad. That looks like something you'd probably throw back in again. Except, we look at the inside and see how nice and shiny that is. It looks like we lost a lot of friction surface here. So I wouldn't put that back in. I think we explained before. The other ones had a little bit. Third gear's usually the worst. And we'll go back to our measurement here and take a look. I have this set up at 0.95, almost a full millimeter. The spec here is, let me go to another page. All right, another page. There we are. The spec for third, fourth, and fifth is a new one will be between 1 millimeter and 1.7, but the wear limit, they don't want this going past a 0.5 millimeter. So we're at 0.95, and it's tight, but it's definitely bigger than 0.5. Technically, according to the information, we could just reuse this. We will not. I just don't like all that smoothing going on inside there from the friction surface. So that's third gear. And also look at the teeth on third gear. Forgot about that. They're in pretty rough shape. So this will be, let's see, look all around here. We'll be replacing third gear when the time comes. So that's third. Fourth gear looks pretty safe. I think we can reuse fourth gear without any problem. I didn't see anything wrong with the bearing. And our dog teeth look pretty good. Not perfect, it's a used part, but you have to weigh out the cost of this versus, we might be able to touch it up gently with a diamond burr bit without going too deep and it interfering with the hardness. If we just wanted to clean up just a little bit, but may not even be necessary. Alright, so if we were rebuilding this transmission with new parts and being done with it as a regular job, rebuild the transmission, things would be a lot cleaner, a lot neater. Everything would be really in tip-top shape over here, and the bench would be clear. We'd just be working on this. But we're not doing that. In the interest of saving time, we're just going to put it together. And it'll go on a shelf and not go back in the car until it's rebuilt. Little disclaimer there. Okay. So, first up, third gear. We're going to put our bearing halves in there. I'm just going to put a little drop of oil on them. Really not necessary at this point, but that'll help hold it all together as well. That's just standard 75-90 or 80-90, I forget which. Doesn't really matter. We'll find a real nice oil to put in this when we're done, like an AMS oil or something. Always a controversy with oils. I'm not good with oils. They don't recommend GL5 for brass synchro cars, yet that's all that's available is GL5 in the dealership, and that's all we ever used. I've never had a problem with it. So always research when we go to put oil in a car. I know there's always something better down the line. Everybody's got something better. So that research will come when the time comes. So there's third gear. Right there on the old input shaft. We're cooking our sliding hub. We don't want it to get too hot. We don't want anything to turn blue. Let's see where we are. Oh yeah, that's hot. Yeah. We're at 300 degrees, so that's hot. Let me just see if we can drop that in place. We have to line up the notches in the synchro that'll drop down into the sliding hub. And that's good there. You stay put. And I didn't bother putting this in the freezer because one, it won't fit. So the oil's cooking off of this. Once they released me from the burn center from last time, I thought I'd be a little more careful with these. But it started, but it's not going to go down on its own. So we're going to go over to the press and snug that up. So we'll see you over at the press. Okay, we're over here at Mr. Press. It's a little more convenient this way. I've got the synchro seated in the 320-degree slots there, and we're just off the bearing a little bit, but that's okay. It's not going to come out or anything. I really don't like the tip of this touching the shaft. I don't want any galling or any marks, so we're just going to put a little washer up here. It's not hardened steel, so if this is going to do any marking, it's going to damage the washer and not this input shaft that we'll probably have to replace anyways, but well, let's just not make it worse. So the plate is touching the surface of the thrust surface of the collar, sliding sleeve. Not a whole lot of force. That collar is still nice and hot. That's it. I still love that sound. Okay, back to the bench. Okay, we're back. The next step, pretty simple. We're going to put our snap ring back on and take a measurement. So let's see what snap ring we have. This is kind of important for our, I don't know why, it's right there. We can always measure, it's not that important. We'll figure it out. I have not quite 1.5, 1.45, oh yeah, 1.51, 1.52 millimeters. So this, my options are 1.5, 1.56, and 1.62. So I'm going to guess this is the 1.5 millimeters. It's a little on the large side. And so that'll be the smallest one that we can use here. And it's the 088 311 317. So we'll put that on there. And measure our gap. It should be, our gap is between 0 and 0.05. The lower value preferable because they don't want this thing moving around. So we want this nice and tight. Let's see where we're at. If I can see. I can see. Okay. Still warm. So where are we? Oh, it is loose. Let me look at something here. This shouldn't matter. This snap ring looks like it's beat up a little bit. Yeah, look at that. So, why is that so beat up? That doesn't go in there. Oh, I know why. The bearings. These bearings ride on top of the snap ring and sit in here. And I'm looking at this. Look at the bottom of the snap ring. See how you can see a pattern there? You can see the splines here from the shaft. So this snap ring actually was originally face down. And I didn't see, because I'm half blind, I didn't see that this is worn here really bad. Oh, we're going to be putting a snap ring in this. So let me see what it is if we turn it around. So the flat side, yeah, the outer edge here is, the outer edge is correct at 1.51, 1.52. Yeah, the inner, I can't really measure that. So what happens if I put it on the same way that it came out? So we have to inspect snap rings too, these circlips. Put nice fresh ones in there. Even if we have a good gap, we don't want to reuse this. It's going to give too much slop in the bearing. Yeah, see, that's tighter. All right. See, I can tap that in now. And here's another example. I can tell you right now that that's a 0 clearance. Before you could see it moving. I should have put a feeler gauge in it. But this is 0.03, so this is smaller than the 0.05. And I cannot get that in there. So, one more thing to look at. These bearings actually wear on the snap ring. So, we'll probably be getting new bearings, which you probably should anyways, but these actually look really good. But I don't like the wear on the edges, so we're going to freshen all that up too. Because these bearings go in here and they ride on top of the snap ring. And this edge, not this one is all nice and shiny, and that's probably what wore the snap ring down. So when we flip it over, the worn side is down and it gives you a little bit of slop. Interesting. Okay. We will look more carefully on all the other ones. Okay, now that's out of the way. There's a little blob of oil there. And here. And I don't know if I mentioned this already, but the wide surface goes to 4th gear, and you can see the wider surface. The 3rd gear had about a half of that circle. It was only halfway up. Synchro ring. 4th gear, not a whole lot of wear on the inside, but we'll change it anyways, just so everything's nice and fresh. It looks really good. The gap was good, so. But I think we'll put all new synchros. And there's our 4th gear. Now our very big snap ring here, you don't replace these, but there is a measurement we have to make. Let's see where that is, right here. Measure the end play on the 4th gear. Tolerance 1/10 to 4/10 of a millimeter, 0.44. So let's see where we're at, and if it's not within spec, recheck the adjustment on the synchronizer. So now we know the gap is good, but we have a snap ring that has a groove in it. So it's very possible that this might not be right. Let's see. I'm not going to put oil on that yet. So there's so much more to look at than gears and synchros and bearings. Carry down. Looks like it. Make sure it's seated. And let's see. Of course, I have no memory either, so that was okay. 0.1 to 0.44. Very specific. 0.1 to 0.44. 0.17. 0.12. 0.7. 0.102. Okay, that fits. Let's just make sure that that snap ring is up as far as it'll go. That's 0.1 and 0.44. If we're between those two numbers, we're in good shape. Can't see. 0.43. 0.43. No. So that gap is good. This won't even go in, and the 0.1 is too loose. So we're definitely between that spec. So that's it for the input shaft. We have quite a parts list growing on this transmission. That's it. The synchro sleeve, just back and forth, works perfectly. And that's it for the input shaft. We learned a little bit about that. That snap ring kind of caught me off guard. I should have been paying more attention to that. I will next time for sure. And when we tear that one apart, we're gonna look at all those again as well when we revisit that. So that's it for the input shaft. We're going to get set up to reassemble the differential. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back here set up to reassemble the differential. Again, this is an open diff. It's not a limited slip or a Thorson diff, which is really cool. But that's for a whole nother day. So we're going to put this one back together, but I thought of something while we were setting all this up. Is we need some tools to be able to finish setting up the pinion depth and all that kind of thing. The 385 bar is missing a few things. One, I've got the wrong dial indicator. I need the master gauge, and then the tools to put inside the carrier while it's in the case to measure backlash and turning torque. So I had an idea. Since we're doing all this work for free, basically, on this transmission at the moment, if you have a transmission that needs to be rebuilt, or you want to go through it, a 944 turbo transmission, or even a 924 transmission, why don't you send it to us? We'll do it at an incredibly discounted rate so we can do the video. And with the little bit of money you'll pay us, we can buy the tools we need to do the setup, and we're close to about $1,000. So you buy the parts, maybe $1,000, we'll rebuild your transmission on camera, and we'll do a fantastic job and let you know everything we need. You'll see everything in close detail as it comes apart and goes back together. It'll get cleaned in our super wet jet blasting machine, and everything will get painted back to original. It'll be just absolutely perfect for a lot less than you could anywhere else. Now, there are a lot of good guys out there rebuilding transmissions. We can also do a great job and save you a lot of money, but you got to do it quick, because we're on this transmission we'll probably reassemble it next week. It might take two different videos to get it all reassembled. So if there's something you want to do, send me a message, and we'll get it in the queue here, and we'll do a special on your transmission. So let me know if that'll work for you. That'll allow us, because we're keeping the video stuff separate. Anything that comes in money wise for the videos is going separate. So including your transmission, send it to me. We'll send me a check. We'll buy the tools we need, and we'll be good for the next one, and you'll get a great deal. Okay, enough of that. Back to the differential. That's it. I just threw the bearing on because that's no fun to see that go on. It's just a simple little press fit. So I want to put the spider gears in, and the procedure for this is to put it together with 1/2 millimeter shims on the larger spider gears. Now this one, we set all these up here when we took it apart off camera. Here we got the pump gear side, which is this side. So this will go in like this. And then the flange side is the flange for the ring gear, and that'll go down. Well, we don't have 2 1/2 millimeter shims to do our test fit. That's how you put it together, test it. If you need more shims, you take the 1/2 millimeter and add what you need and come up with a larger shim. We don't have those shims, so we're going to measure these to see what we do have, put it together, and measure and see if we're going to need to get shims. So when we buy the parts package for this transmission, I'll also include whatever shim we need for the ring gear. For the ring gear, that's the ring gear over there. Look, ring gear is getting toasty warm, so it'll drop on. So we can get the spider gears in nice and tight. So let's see what we have. This one's the pump gear side. And this one is 0.5 exactly. So that one's a 1/2 millimeter. This one feels heavier. This is 0.567. Close to just about 0.7 millimeters. So we have a 0.7 and a 0.5. If we need any larger clearance, we'll know what's already in there, and we can just use that as our measurement. And there are shims available, 0.5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have a 0.5 and a 0.7. If we need a little more clearance, we can take out the 0.5, put it in a 0.6. You get the idea. Pretty simple stuff. But I always like to have the service manual handy so I can just glance over at it, make sure I'm not screwing things up on camera, because that never happens, but just in case. All right. So first things first, let's get the larger gears in. I'm just gonna put a little blob of grease on there so the shim doesn't fall off while I'm installing it. What did I say? This is the flange side, so this will go in That's it. Now, if this was going together for real, everything would be lubricated like crazy, so don't worry about that. This one is the pump gear side, that's the pump gear. A little bit of schmoozy greasy on there. And then that'll go up in here. Okay, so you can see what I did here. It's probably going to want to fall out, but they just slide right in the holes there. I don't see any wear. We looked at these. There's little normal markings, but nothing out of the ordinary. So when we take a look at the little spider gears, these are the smaller ones, and also, yeah, there's no shims for these. These are just thrust washers, they call them, and the shimming and the adjustment is done with these two gears. So looking at these gears look good. A little concerned about the inside. Certainly not bad. Very shiny, like it looks like some metal has come off. Now looking at the shaft, this is something we're going to change as well. I can actually feel a difference here. I don't know if you can see sort of a definitive line here. There's actually, I can feel that. There's a lip there. So this shaft is worn pretty good. So even if we took our measurements now, we're not going to be real accurate because we don't have a good, there's going to be a lot of slop in this is what I'm trying to say. So we're going to be replacing the shaft. I think, you see this play there and very little in there further up where it's not worn. I think these are good. I think we'll just replace the shaft. It looks good. So that's how that goes. This gear was on the blank side, and that's on the roll pin side. So the roll pin goes in over here, and that's what holds the end of the shaft in. I'll show you that. But the blank side is over here. So this one's going to go in first. Well, not first. It's got to go in and then spin. We just want to spin it in the right direction. I'll show you that. Okay. I've done so many of these transmissions at the dealer under warranty, and some with even very few miles, even if they were out of warranty. So to see this level of wear in a transmission, it's not odd, but it's I don't know, kind of new to me because I just don't do a lot of these. These transmissions are so strong. All right, so this was the one for the blank side. Put that in, and then we're just going to roll it around. Hopefully everybody is. We want to get the shims. Okay. So everybody's in. There's our spider gears. Now I'm going to put the shaft in, but I have to put these discs in. These are the threaded discs that the stub axles bolt to. So these drop on the inside. Come on. Sometimes you have to talk to them. They're a little shy. Okay, there you go. And then this one. These should take a little grease too. I want to see if I can get them in without having to put grease on them. Oh, this is all coming apart again. Bummer. Dang it. You stay. Yeah, like I said, we're going to put grease on them so they stay in place. Oh, that was twitching. Okay. There. All right. And then this axle shaft, that's the hole for the roll pin. We want to make sure that that goes in the right orientation. All right. So everything's in. It's not going to fall out because it's pretty much all the way through. And that's going to line up here. Yeah, that lip on the shaft caught I could feel it, it caught the gear. And that's it. We'll put our roll pin in. Roll pin punch, nice little dot on the end of it. Good enough. So now they want us to find out if there's any play in these gears, in the spider gears. Not a lot of lubrication in there, so oh my, they're binding. So I have a little bit of play in this one. They want these pushed out to the side all the way. And really no play there. You want to push the gear up and down against the small spider gears. And there's very little play in there. Very little. This side, there's a lot. So I'll revisit these shims. We're going to replace the axle shaft. And it does bind. Probably because there's no lubrication in it. Let's see what happens if I can add a little bit of lubrication there and roll down. There's one spot where it binds. We're going to look into all of that. So that's how it goes together. Again, we'd be putting new parts in it and things like that. It's just kind of embarrassing. I don't have everything I can put together on this, but that's how it goes on a budget. All right, now the ring gear has to be heated. I know for a fact that's hot. It's a tight fit, and I don't have the tool, again, more tools I need, that screw into the back of the ring gear so I can center it. So when it goes on, it's going to probably get stuck because it's going to cool really quick. The threads are so fine. This is a probably 1.0. Looks like a 10 millimeter 1.0. I don't have a bolt that I could cut the head off and use as a guide pin. So we're going to be real careful and try to get this on there without too much trouble. So I can line it up and get the bolt holes in. So let's do this. Again, I don't want to go back to the burn center and get a lot of trouble for that. All right. Take our ring gear, very hot. Yes, it is very hot. And hopefully, I'll clean that surface. Hopefully get these in. That looks good. We want to get this pulled down while it's still hot. So that news I was talking about, the good news I was hoping for, what we're doing is we're submitting a business plan to some investors for our larger, very beautiful, amazing repair facility, restoration shop, body shop, all in one. It's huge. It's going to be expensive, but Naples needs it. Naples, Florida, the home of the Bentley on every corner, Porsches in every driveway, kids getting their license and a Maserati. So we want to be that shop that can do everything, even the upholstery shop inside. So we have big plans. Everything social media, surrounded by social media, everything. We're going to be best in all the land. So that news that didn't come was the one investor we thought was really interested. He just not ready to pull the trigger on that bigger project yet, which is cool. We'll find someone. So the next step would be to clamp this in the vise. I'd have somebody holding the vise because our vise is on a table that moves, and torque these to the correct specification crisscross. We're not going to do that today. I know it's on there. You know it's on there. You know what the procedure would be. So the next step, we're going to warm up this bearing. That won't take long. And get the oil pump drive gear installed. Here's our oil pump drive gear. This side goes down. The recessed portion here goes down. And you've got to put it on the correct way or you'll never get the bearing off. These slots are here so you can get a puller to pull the bearing out. So that being said, I want to put it back where, I'm sure there are marks where that was. Maybe. Yeah. You can see the little mark where the roll pin has contacted it. It's right there. So this was on this way, like this. So I might as well just put it right back the same way. And I don't know why they don't just lock that down, but there must be a reason for it. I don't know it. Maybe one of you engineers would tell me. Maybe it's just best this way and you don't have to worry about putting bolts in it. I don't know. But that's okay. So, if you like the show so far, we love good comments. You guys are just amazing with comments and the knowledge base that you guys have, and really helping us out with little tidbits of information, parts that are still available, parts that aren't available, cost of some of the parts. Really appreciate it. So keep those coming. Keep the comments coming. I try to respond to every one. Like I said, a lot going on, but I try to respond to every one, so keep them coming. GoFundMe is sort of stalled a little bit. It kind of be expected. It's not life-threatening for anybody, and we're not saving children, so it's hard to get some monetary support for a project car. I mean, but every little bit helps, and if we can't get enough to do the body with everybody's permission, we'll use that money for other parts of the car, but it'll stay for this project. We're not going to use it for anything else. There we go, another bearing. So yeah, all right, that should be hot enough. Let's see if it drops on. The last one dropped on pretty easy. Let's see if this one does. Yes. Okay. So that's it. That dropped on there, and it's already tight. Not completely tight, but it just, as soon as it hit the steel carrier, it shrunk up. And that's it. There is our carrier, differential, final drive, all kinds of names for this. But again, it's an open diff. I don't have a limited slip to show you. But look into Torsen differentials as well. It's a gear-driven limited slip rather than a clutch-based limited slip. Most of the limited slips you see are the clutch type. The Torsen's a relatively new technology. They put it in the Audis, the Audi Quattros for quite a while, but just not real conventional in a single differential. The Quattro with the two differentials. So that's it for today. We did our input shaft. We did our ring and pinion, the gear carrier, and made a couple little errors here and there. You probably saw, but it's all together and ready to go until we get parts and take it all apart again. But that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Keep the comments coming. You guys are great. The tidbits of information are just fantastic. Like, subscribe, you know the drill. We appreciate every time you watch. We'll see you next week.